Are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? Bring your left hand.
Hi, I'm Michael Homula, and thanks for hanging out with us again here at Pulling the Cork. As you know, we've been doing this Taste and Talk series with Jeff Miller of Artisan Family of Wines, and we've now reviewed 3 of his wines. We're now down to the 4th and sadly the last wine that we have from Artisan. But we're pretty excited about this one. This is his Petite Sirah, which comes from grapes that Jeff grows on his 34-acre Clayton Road ranch out in the Sassoon Valley. This is 100% Petite Sirah. It's 14.9% alcohol by volume, and Jeff produced about 475 cases, so this is a pretty small production wine. It was released in May of 2009, and the suggested retail is $17.99. Here's a look at the bottle. I still love these bottles. I think they do really cool artwork on here. Just the handwritten scrolling is really cool to me. But that's the wine for today. We talked with Jeff, as you know, in our Taste and Talk series, and Jeff told us a little bit about his Petite Sirah. So, Jeff?
Our Petite comes from a vineyard out on Clayton Road in Sassoon Valley. That vineyard happens to be like only a couple hundred feet from the Napa Valley AVA, but it's not Napa, it's Sassoon Valley. We budded a Petite 4 years ago, I think. It had previously been Merlot. For some reason that I don't think anyone could quite explain to you, Petite does incredibly well in our valley. You know, everybody has their preference. I have my preference, and not everybody agrees with me, but that is my favorite of our wines. It is a very big wine. It's very bold, big tannin structure, a lot of fruit. It's a wine not for the faint of heart. If you're going to have a dinner, you'd better be eating grilled ribs or something like that. But it will stand up to almost anything. I mean, it will stand up to anything.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the biggest alcohol content wine that you have in your portfolio right now, correct? Isn't it around 14.9%?
Correct.
Okay.
We're going to try to bring that down. But yes, that is 14.9. That's an alcohol level I would prefer to stay below.
Right. Is there an ideal? Is there a niche spot for your alcohol level on your Petite Sirah that you're shooting for?
I would always like my wines to be closer to 14 and even into the 13s. That's really where I would like to aim.
Thanks, Jeff, for telling us about your wine. We're going to go ahead and give this thing a go now. Let's take a look at it here in the glass. This is a very, very deep and dark purple, almost bluish purple in color. You cannot see through this. It is pretty dense. And wow, super clingy to the inside of the glass. We'll show you that in just a second. But that's the color on the wine. I'm going to go ahead and swirl this and see if you can see the way this thing is just clinging to the inside of the glass. Hopefully that shows up on camera. I don't know if it will. But man, that thing is just clinging to the inside of the glass. Long, slow rivulets dripping down the side there. It might be an indication of how high the alcohol volume is on this thing. It is 14.9%. Let's go ahead and nose this. Big, ripe blackberries and blueberries and plum with a tiny bit of rose petal mixed into that, but it's a jumping nose of those aromas. It's really coming out of the glass. It literally filled up inside that bowl and filled up inside of my nose. There's also a bouquet of crushed black pepper with a tiny bit of cinnamon mixed into that. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a whirl to make sure I'm not missing something. Sorry, the camera's shaking. Yeah, I don't know what this is gonna taste like, but my guess is it's going to be very big. Just the aromas are big. It almost smells like syrupy to me. I don't know if that's going to be what happens, but it smells that way. Let's go ahead and find out what's going on here in terms of mouthfeel. Wow. Very tannic. Big, giant, firm, mouth-drying tannins here. Tannins are really there. Very full-bodied. There is a good amount of acidity here, though. It's not devoid of acidity, but the tannins are big, which almost If you weren't paying attention, you would think it wasn't a very acidic wine because the tannins are so big. Tannins are just definitely forward on this thing, which is typical for Petite Sirah. But there is a nice balance of acidity, but the tannins are standing out so much that it gives you the impression that maybe there isn't a lot of acidity supporting that up. Let's go ahead and check for flavors here. Lots of blackberry, juicy, ripe, those plump blackberries and blueberries. Lots of dark fruits. Some black plums, those dark plums that you get at your grocery store. Some black cherry is going on in there. There's a briar patch element that I get on a lot of Zinfandel. Yeah, don't ask. I have tasted a briar before. It was a really strange experience, but I did actually eat a briar, so I know what it tastes like. But there's a briar patch, briar kind of a taste going on there. More black pepper and a hint of clove on that. Just a tiny bit of that baking spice kind of clove going on. Let's find out how this thing is going to finish now. The finish is leaving behind some plum and some blackberry again, with just a tiny bit of the black pepper and some cinnamon and some clove. What's really interesting to me is that I would expect at 14.9% alcohol by volume, this would be burning going down, and it is not. Very interesting to me. Normally on that finish with 14.9% alcohol, you're going to get a lot of burn, and I'm not getting none of it. It's absolutely non-existent. The finish is very long, though. This thing is still lingering here in my mouth. But zero alcohol standing out here at the very end. It's not annoying me, and it's not getting out in the way, and it's not burning as it goes down. I gotta tell you, this is a really good wine again. Jeff has really come to the table with 4 really nice wines, and this one is really, really good. I think that this thing could age for probably 10 years or more, maybe as long as 20. There's such a big, huge tannic backbone, and there's a nice amount of acidity too, that I think this thing will age for 10 to 20 years perhaps. This is not a wine for everyone. Definitely a wine you want to pair up with some food, some big filet mignon or beef tips or something really big, bison, something like that would go well with this. Again, it's not a wine for everyone because of the big tannins. I happen to like it. There's a lot of bold fruits. It's very racy at times, and it's got a really nice firm tannic structure. I do like it. Thanks again for hanging out with us here at Pulling the Cork. We hope you enjoyed our first Taste and Talk series with Jeff Miller of Artisan Family of Wines. We hope you also enjoyed us giving you a taste and review of each of his 4 wines. We've got another Taste and Talk going on right now. Hope you'll check it out. Until then, cheers.